Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar, Kickstart Your Legal Marketing in 1 Hour, presented by Mary Wenzel. My name is Stephanie Phelan, and I'm a marketing manager at MyCase, and I will be your host today. I'd like to give you a few tips about participating on GoToWebinar. The webinar control panel is on the right-hand side of your screen. This is where you may submit questions and where you will see polls come up throughout the presentation. We save all of your questions until the end of the presentation, and that's when Mary will answer what we've collected throughout the webinar. Also, please note that these slides will be available by end of day tomorrow on the MyCase blog, and it will also be emailed to the registrants along with the recording. Today's webinar is hosted by MyCase, so before we jump into things, I'd like to give you a quick overview. MyCase is a web-based law practice management software that takes care of your daily practice requirements for calendaring, contact management, document management and templates, time and billing, client communications, custom workflows, and more in one solution at an affordable price. MyCase is priced for solo and small firms at just $39 a month per attorney and $29 a month per paralegal or support staff. MyCase also offers websites for our customers. The cost to set up and build your website is only $500, and then there's a $50 per month maintenance fee. We use a modern professional design built for your firm. The websites contain social media and blog integration, and best of all, complete integration with MyCase practice management software. Now you and your customers can log into MyCase directly from your website. Last but not least, we enjoy hosting educational events for professionals in the legal industry, and that is why we are here today. Now let me tell you a little bit about our presenter. Mary Wenzel is a Thomas Jefferson School of Law grad, legal marketing master, and the founder of Right Law. Right Law helps to connect attorneys with prospective clients by providing useful marketing content for websites, blogs, and newsletters. Right Law offers courses to teach attorneys how to write their own content and are available for marketing consultations. Mary has over a decade of legal experience and understands the many challenges attorneys face. She's in a position to combine her love of writing with her love of the law and is thrilled to share her knowledge with you today. Thank you for being here, Mary. I am going to hand over the mic to you now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Stephanie, and thank you everybody for joining me here today. I've got to say I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to share the next hour with you. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, Stephanie. And just so you guys know, in addition to the professional accolades, I am a real person. So the last couple bullet points I just want to quickly draw your attention to. I love salted caramels and Chardonnay if you ever want to bribe me. And I'm also happy to talk to you about planning to exercise. I'm an avid planner, not necessarily always an avid exerciser. So if any of you relate to that, you know, welcome, you're with good company. So without further ado, I want to chat with you guys a little bit about my background and where I started my legal career. I started my legal career at a small personal injury firm in San Diego as a secretary. My original plan was to teach high school level English. Unfortunately, I quickly realized that I didn't like group projects or poster boards, and a master's in education requires a bunch of both. So I felt like, geez, that's not really going to work for me. My former bosses, the two gentlemen you see here in this picture, encouraged me to go to law school. So I worked full-time when I went to law school and went to law school at night. I ate what I like to call the dinner of champions, which is a Snickers bar and a Diet Dr. Pepper. And I did that for the better part of 4 years. Luckily, at the time this picture was taken, I wasn't doing that as frequently. While I was working at the firm, I really developed an interest in marketing. I loved the idea of being able to connect with clients and was thrilled that with the right campaigns, we might be able to avoid picking up the phone and talking to the person who had a personal injury or wanted to sue 7-Eleven because they drank a soda they almost drank a soda that had glass in it. We got a couple of calls along that vein. But the problem for us was that we didn't necessarily know what we were doing when it came to marketing. I mean, when it came to buying marketing, it always felt like we were buying marketing from this guy, which isn't fun at all. It's really hard to make a smart decision when you're feeling pressured and unsure. I often felt like we were just responding to the salesperson's pitch rather than actually making strategic choices when it came to our legal marketing. So we really wanted to get away from this kind of marketing. It's a terrible way to buy marketing. It's expensive. And really, you don't buy clothes you can't return without trying them on. But we did, because we didn't have a good resource to help us plan our marketing or to make smart choices. And my guess is that I'm not the only person on this webinar who purchased marketing hoping that it would work or felt like they purchased snake oil from a salesperson at one point in time or another. So I wanted to ask you guys, have you ever done this before? And so we're going to pull up our first polling question. And unfortunately, for my firm, it felt like we made the snake oil question, or we purchased snake oil way more often than I'd like to admit. We fell into the number 3 category. So I just like to ask everybody, have you ever purchased snake oil? Have you done it once or twice? Do you fall into the category like we did, where we did it more times than we'd like to admit? Or are you one of those people that feels like, geez, I shouldn't be doing any legal marketing. All legal marketing is snake oil. So that poll is open, and I would encourage you to click on that and let us know.
Great. So, yeah, it looks like the majority of votes are in. So Mary, I'm going to go ahead and close this out now. We can see our results.
Fantastic.
There we go. So it looks like 37% said never, I'm lucky, I'm just getting started with my marketing. And 43%, so our majority, say 1 or 2 times it's happened. But they're very careful with how they spend their marketing dollars. 15%, more times than they'd like to admit, and 5% are skeptical about the legal marketing.
Fair enough. Well, then I'm glad to hear that the majority of the group has avoided it, or has avoided falling into the trap that we fell into. But for the 15% of you that are with me, you guys know my frustration. And for those of you that didn't, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that you guys are making some really smart choices. With my old firm, what happened was after we had purchased some snake oil, we really felt like we needed to make some good changes. So we had a personal connection with a really amazing website design company. They had worked with Sony Vizio and John Mayer and were doing some really cool things for that time period. So we decided to hire them. We were going to have a super amazing, totally sexy website. And that was it. That was our marketing plan. We had some Yellow Page ads going. We were going to do the sexy website. We were going to do some networking. Ta-da! We figured with the sexy website we would have more clients than we can handle. But unfortunately, that's still not quite how marketing works. Even with that personal recommendation, we had to learn the hard way. So I started getting educated. And by working with companies recommended by our website designers, attending presentations, and ultimately I went to go work for a mass tort marketing company, I really fell in love with marketing. So today, you guys will learn a couple things from me. The first thing you will learn is how to avoid marketing with your fingers crossed. Sure, marketing's more of an art than a science, but good marketing advice is like a paint-by-number canvas. You can pick the colors, change up how it looks, but if you follow the guide, you're going to wind up with a general picture that you purchased. So today in the next 40 minutes or so, you'll learn how to select the best marketing channels available for your firm, how to evaluate your marketing service providers, how to easily track your marketing efforts, how to make your website a reality, and how to develop targeted content. So I know we're going to be covering a lot. And as Stephanie mentioned, if you have any questions as we go along, we're saving time at the end of the presentation, and I'm super happy to answer those questions. So feel free to hop on that chat box and let us know if there's something that's not quite clear or you'd like me to expand on. And without further ado, let's talk a little bit about legal marketing. The only way you can make smart legal marketing choices is if you know what choices you have. So despite what some other marketers may say, you've actually got a ton of choices when it comes to marketing your firm. Obviously, first place most of us want to start is online marketing channels. So we can talk about websites, blogs, social media, review sites, referral websites, pay-per-click advertising, also known as PPC, email campaigns, videos, and webinars like we're doing today. From a traditional marketing perspective, we've got yellow page ads, like I mentioned, billboards, television ads, radio commercials, print advertising, including magazines, newspapers, and anything else you can put your hands around, attorney newsletters, speaking engagements, and networking, and also referral groups. So we've got a couple dozen choices just here, and this isn't even an exhaustive list. But I really think we've got a couple non-negotiable marketing things that you must be doing in your firm and you need in order to be strategic about your marketing. So I've narrowed it down to 4, and here they are. My first non-negotiable is in-person networking. It costs relatively little and offers the potential for quick creation of clients and revenue. It also gives you an opportunity to hone in on how you describe your practice and really narrow the way you approach particular clients. You find out really quickly in-person networking for any business. If you describe your business like you describe it to your colleagues, most of the time you'll get like a glazed over look and no one will understand what kind of law you're practicing. But if you're able to hone that message, you can take that message then from those in-person networking experiences and move it on over to your other marketing channels. Your second non-negotiable is your website. Everything online and often offline will actually point back to your website, but you need to make sure it's up to snuff. Like, it's completely non-negotiable. Get out there, meet people, get your website going, and it needs to look nice. And from there, I think your next non-negotiable is a blog. A blog is a less formal, page on your website or place on your website, but it gives you an opportunity to share your personality and connect with your clients. You can also tackle topics that wouldn't necessarily be appropriate in a web page format. So it just really gives you an opportunity to share more information. And finally, you need a LinkedIn profile because that's where your colleagues are checking you out. More than your website, more than anywhere else, your colleagues are hopping on their LinkedIn profile because we've been told in the legal field that that's where we should be. So that needs to be comprehensive and it needs to be accurate and up to date. So my question to you all is, how are you guys doing on your 4 non-negotiables? Do you regularly network? Do you have a website? Do you have a blog? And do you have an up-to-date LinkedIn profile? And I saw Stephanie just launched that poll, so we'll get your results and we'll let you know how everybody is doing over there on our 4 non-negotiables.
Yeah, and it's fun to see all the votes coming in. It looks like the majority has voted, so I'll go ahead and close out the poll.
Okay. I love how fast the technology is.
I know, it's amazing. And here are our results for how everyone's doing with their non-negotiables. 66% regularly network, 85%, so our majority have a website, great. 30% awesome. Have a blog, which is higher than I expected. 74% have a LinkedIn profile.
Right on. I would say that we're doing really awesome as a group. So I would encourage everybody in your office, by yourself, to pat yourself on the back because we're making some really good progress on those non-negotiables. Cool. So as I mentioned, we all know that making uninformed marketing choices is expensive. And if you're not doing it effectively, it can really feel like you're just throwing money out the window. You're taking hard-earned cash and letting it go. So in addition to knowing where your money is being spent in terms of what are you doing with your non-negotiables, you need to know how much money you have to spend on marketing because it really will influence the channels you take advantage of. So next polling question, what is your annual marketing budget? There isn't a right or wrong answer here. most businesses spend 6 to 9% of their annual revenue on marketing. Attorneys tend to spend much lower, close to 3 or 4%. But what's important is to know what your marketing budget actually is. So we've got a couple choices here. Is your marketing budget under $25,000 or $2,500? Excuse me. Are you between $2,500 and $5,000 a year? Do you spend between $5,000 and $10,000 a year on your marketing? Do you spend $10,000 to $20,000 on your marketing, or do you spend more than $20,000 a year on your marketing? So the poll is open. Please let us know. And this is super important because the availability of funds really plays a part in your marketing choices. I'm going to walk you through some free marketing channels, some low-cost marketing channels, and some medium to high-cost marketing channels. So I just want you guys to keep your marketing budget in mind as we talk about these channels, so that since we're all rocking and rolling on our non-negotiables, we can pick a marketing channel or two that we can really hone in on in the next couple months.
All right, and it looks like the majority of everyone has voted, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll.
Cool.
And share our results. So we have a strong majority there, 53% under $2,500 for their marketing budget, 18% between $2,500 and $5,000, 12% between $5,000 and $10,000, 9% between $10,000 and $20,000, and $20,000 plus for 9%. So we definitely we're probably talking to a lot of solo and small firms here.
Yep, and that sounds about right. And there's actually a lot of things you can do with a small budget or a big budget. It's kind of one of those things that can aggregate. So let's chat a little bit about those free marketing channels. But before we hop into that, it's also important to know who your perfect client is and where you can most easily reach them, especially when we're talking about a marketing budget under $2,500 a year. We need to really make sure that we know who we're trying to reach and why we're trying to reach them. It's a little bit of a long discussion to talk about your target audience, but what I want you guys to do today is think about who your perfect client is, and that can be somebody you're currently working with or somebody you've worked with in the past. And when I run through these marketing channels, ask yourself, would I be able to connect with John or Tina on these marketing channels? And would they respond to that kind of marketing? And if so, sweet, this is one to write down. So let's chat a little bit about these free marketing channels. We have social media. Social media is extremely popular right now because it can be a really effective way to market your firm. Just keep in mind that the website you are using to promote your firm actually has to be connected to these social media channels. So it's not efficient to focus a lot on Twitter and not have a website that's up to snuff. Luckily, everybody's got a website, so we're in a really good place there, or the majority of us have a website and on this call. So, you know, websites and your social media point back to your websites. The other thing to keep in mind is that when you use social media, the people who've created these social media platforms are actually in charge of the content that is being displayed on their site. So Yelp charging for marketing or hiding reviews can hurt your reach on Yelp. Facebook is now encouraging businesses to boost their posts or pay for sponsored ads, and this can really, really affect who sees the posts and who engages within your community. So you really want to make sure that your social media isn't the only thing you're relying on, because the social media providers can change the game on you relatively quickly, and you have to be willing to be responsive. The other thing to keep in mind is to look at how many people are on each of the social media channels. The slide I have up right now does show the average users or the number of users for these social media channels. So obviously Facebook is winning with 1.28 billion, but it's worth thinking about who your target audience is and if they're actually using Facebook. Facebook's demographic is aging some, and younger users are switching to things like Instagram and Snapchat, and so those might not be the perfect, Facebook might not be the perfect place for you if your firm is trying to reach, you know, the under 25 crowd. So again, while we're talking about these things, really go back to who's that client you really enjoy working with and where are you going to find them. Another free marketing channel are review sites. I mentioned Yelp earlier, kind of seems to float between reviews and social media in terms of these sorts of discussions. So there's Yelp. Google Places is also very popular. Again, Google Places is controlled by Google. There hasn't been a lot of discussion about them manipulating results, but it is also something to really consider with respect to, whether or not this is the only place you focus your marketing. In addition to review sites and social media, free marketing channels as well are things like networking, which we mentioned earlier, which a good majority of us are doing, and speaking engagements. It can be really cost effective to have a speaking engagement lined up where you can go and speak to an audience and tell them about your legal services. So those often are very low cost in terms of outside expenditure and any sort of marketing or ramp up. In terms of low cost marketing channels, email marketing is a very popular marketing option for attorneys. An important piece to note, though, is that according to MailChimp, which is an email service provider, 1 in 5 people open emails identifying themselves as legal services. And when that email contains a link, only 3.25% of people who opened it will actually click on that link. So you're only going to reach 20% of your list with email marketing. It doesn't mean it's not valuable, and if you're not using email marketing in your firm right now, it may be a really wonderful way to stay in front of your current and former clients or colleagues, but just keep in mind that you are really going to have a very low, in finger quotes, conversion rate with respect to who opens emails and whether or not they click on that. The email marketing is a long game. You need to get your list comfortable with hearing from you on a regular basis, and you need to chat with them about things that aren't necessarily always law firm, me focused. So there are plenty of examples out there on how to be an effective email marketer, but they're relatively low-cost ways to approach email marketing. The email marketing account from a place like MailChimp or Constant Contact's only going to run you $20 to $30 a month, so that's really fantastic. And if you're good with writing copy, you can write the copy yourself and get it out there, or you can outsource that in an effective and efficient way as well. Other low-cost marketing channels include referral groups, like BNI or 6 Degrees here in San Diego. These are really great opportunities to connect with people in your audience and in your community. So if your law firm is focused on a particular practice area and you don't want to travel, getting into a networking and a referral group can be really, really effective, because then you can establish yourself within the community as being the go-to attorney for a particular practice area. Videos are also low-cost ways to market. They're an easy, fun way to share your marketing knowledge. Google loves videos. With that being said, you should include a transcript or a summary of your videos so that Google can actually index the content. But a lot of people, especially on mobile devices, really enjoy being able to watch a 30 or 40-second clip about a topic they're interested in. And with technology advancing the way it is, most of us have the capabilities, even just in our smartphones, to film relatively good, easy, cheap video. We don't necessarily need to hire a video marketing team to promote or to create good video content. In terms of some high-cost marketing channels, often attorneys use direct mail, and direct mail response rates, on average, hover around 44% nationally. So, again, this is something to keep in mind when you're evaluating your budget and deciding whether or not you're going to spend money on direct mail. You need to make sure that the cost of the direct mail campaign can actually be profitable for you. So with a 4% response rate, will you actually make money on this direct mail campaign? And it's not about whether or not it's a good idea. It's really about whether or not you can make money doing it. So ask yourself that before you decide to send out a bunch of postcards or a bunch of newsletters or what have you. Make sure that you can cover the costs of those direct mail campaigns. We've also got the good old yellow pages. In some communities, yellow pages are no longer profitable. In other communities, yellow pages are a great way to still make money and to still connect with clients. So you need to ask yourself again, who is my perfect client, and are they going to be checking out the yellow pages? As you're as your client population ages, yellow pages are a more likely way of connecting with them. If your client population is younger, then I would really discourage you from looking into yellow pages because the cost of the yellow page ad versus that return on investment is going to be pretty low. Radio advertising is another marketing channel that can be very effective but can also be quite expensive. So keeping that in mind is also really important. Again, who's my perfect client? Where are they? Are they listening to the radio, or do they have Pandora on all the time, or are they listening to, some other paid music service? And if they're not listening to the radio, then it's probably not the right channel to try and reach them. Television is also a very effective marketing channel. We used television a lot when I worked at the mass tort marketing firm because, again, our perfect clients were, in often cases in their 50s and 60s, and so they were more likely to be on TV, less likely to have, moved over to Netflix and Hulu Plus and HBO Go, and more apt to seeing those television ads. So again, it's about asking yourself, what's my budget, and is my perfect client going to be reached on this particular marketing channel? So once you pick a marketing channel or two, it's time to vet your service providers because you don't want to buy snake oil and you want to make sure that you're being an effective purchaser. So, actually, I guess I had already covered this. I apologize for that. Let's take a look just briefly at the strengths of your non-negotiables, which you guys are all doing pretty well on. The other marketing choices you guys have available, your budget, and where you can get the most bang for your buck. So I apologize for not advancing that slide. So now let's talk about vetting our marketing professionals. And in my opinion, you've got to ask questions. Often the salesperson who you're meeting with isn't the person who's going to be doing the work for you. So you want to make sure that you ask questions about the process, how you're going to work together, and who's going to actually be doing the work for you. In my opinion, this is not the time to pretend you know everything. There's no way you can. We're all learning things as we go along. And unfortunately, a dishonest marketing person will know you're bluffing and could use that to your advantage, or they're going to get annoyed with you, honest or not. I mean, think about it. That client who read a couple articles online and thinks he or she knows everything about practicing law, you guys love working with that client, right? Oh, of course not. You hate it. You hate it. It's terrible to work with a know-it-all. So you want your marketing team to know that you're interested, engaged, but not that you're micromanaging their activities. That's just no fun for anybody. So you've got to ask questions. What services are included in the price of the product or service you're purchasing? What's the current turnaround time? What information do you need from me? How many revisions do I get? This is particularly important when you're talking about website design or content or even social media content like logos, business cards, all of this stuff. How many revisions do I get? What's the best way for us to communicate? Maybe they have a client portal like you guys have on MyCase, and that gives you an opportunity to connect with your clients easily and share information. Maybe the best way is email or text or on the phone. You don't know unless you ask, so make sure that you ask that question. And then who will be handling my project? We touched on that a little bit. And what kind of training do you provide? This is especially important when we're talking about websites or social media campaigns, email marketing. If you want to be able to get in there and move around in the thing you've purchased, you want to make sure that you get training, or that if it's going to cost additional money, that you know what that cost that additional service is going to be before you decide on that marketing provider. And once you've decided on a marketing provider and decided on your efforts, you really can't know if something works or not if you don't set goals and track your progress. Otherwise, you just wind up like this little guy on the screen where you think you have a goal and you're kind of working towards it, but it keeps moving because you're not tracking it and you don't actually know what you're accomplishing. So with marketing, you want to make sure to track the date, the marketing channel you're using, the action you've taken on that channel, and the costs of marketing on that channel, and then ultimately your goals for marketing on that channel, and finally, your results of those marketing efforts. So it doesn't have to be super sexy. Our clients often use really easy marketing tracking sheets that you can build in Word. It's like this. It's really simple. You've just got a bunch of columns, and you plug everything in so that in a month or 2 months or 3 months, you can look back and see that, oh, okay, we've made some progress, or that particular marketing activity isn't paying us well, so we need to move on. But you don't know unless you track it. Another really easy example is this is what we use for tracking the blogs we publish. This is an older one, but it's really easy to track what's going on and where we're sharing it. So you can use fancy tracking software, but you don't have to if you don't want to. This is just simply to say that it's easy to track your marketing with the tools you already have. So there's no reason to use the inability to track as an excuse. So my next question is, are you currently tracking your marketing? And I'm going to ask Stephanie to pull up that polling question because it's really important to know who's tracking and who's not. Like I said, we track everything pretty religiously here. So we actually saw a spike in our website traffic on Tuesday, and I didn't know where it came from. And I was like, how do I not know why we have a spike in traffic? And it turns out, actually I found this out when I was talking to Stephanie, that there was an email promoting this webinar that had gone out, and I didn't know about it. So I didn't know to anticipate that bump in traffic. But I wouldn't have known that if I wasn't tracking. So how's everybody doing on their tracking?
All right. Yeah, the majority has voted, so I'll go ahead and close the poll and share our results. So we have 31% that do track their marketing by themselves, 10% who have someone else to do it for them, and the majority, 59%, do not track their marketing.
Okay. Thank you guys for answering that, and thanks for sharing that poll, Stephanie.
Sure.
I would just encourage everybody on the line, let's start tracking our marketing so that you guys know what's going on regardless of your marketing budget. And then speaking of tracking your marketing and tracking your websites, let's talk a little bit about legal websites and what you guys can do to make your website effective. A legal website has several page types. It has a home page, which is your intro to your firm and can be a place where you generally mention your practice areas. You should, and I would encourage everyone to have an about page. If you're a solo, then this is an appropriate place for your bio. If you are a firm with multiple attorneys, then this is a great place for your firm overview, your mission statement, your goals, and then you would have the opportunity for attorney bios elsewhere. I would really encourage everyone to have a practice area page for every practice area you have within your firm. If for some reason you want to combine practice areas, maybe because they're closely related and you don't necessarily want to write a lot on them, I would really encourage you to have no more than 3 practice areas per page. It just gets way too confusing, and from an SEO perspective, it's not the best. A blog is a wonderful place to answer client questions, provide updates on the law, and share funny stories. And then as a complement to a blog, you could always have a news page or a successes page. And this is a place that gets updated less frequently than a blog. A blog is something that you really should be updating on a consistent basis. If you're blogging less than every other week, you're really not getting the most bang for your buck in terms of the efforts you're taking. So I would really encourage you, if you're not going to blog frequently and you just want to occasionally share something, make it a news or an updates page. Blogs that aren't updated frequently, just point out to your clients things you don't have time to do. And nobody wants to say to a new client, hey, I don't have time to address this one thing. So just keep that in mind as you're deciding between whether or not you're going to be blogging or if a news or updates page is more appropriate for your firm. Ultimately, everyone should have a contact page, and it should include your phone number, your address, a good email address for the firm. With that being said, don't put a map on your website if you don't want people to visit you. Plenty of attorneys are now working remotely or working from home, and so having a map on your website really encourages clients to show up. And if you prefer that your clients don't randomly pop in on you, don't put a map there. You do want to have an address there for local SEO purposes, so don't try and get away with not having an address. But don't put a map there if you're not expecting visitors or ready for them. So I want to ask you guys if your website is up to snuff. A recent study indicated that 94% of people cited website design as the reason they mistrusted or rejected a website. That's huge, absolutely huge. Like if you've got somebody landing on your site, you don't want to lose 94% of your visitors because it's not designed properly. So websites with current technology should be redesigned at least every 2 to 3 years. They should be mobile friendly, like our little white guy over here, which means they should be accessible on phones and tablets. They need to have up-to-date information on the firm with respect to partners and associates and staff. If somebody leaves the firm, or if the firm changes the name, or the person changes their name, all of these things should be updated. You want accurate practice area information. So if you no longer practice in a particular area, take it down. If you want to focus on a new practice area, make sure you've got content and information up there. There's no way anybody on the internet is going to know that you're switching practice areas unless you communicate it effectively on your website. And you also, like I mentioned before, want to have accurate contact information. There's nothing more frustrating for a website user who decides that, yes, I do want to reach out to firm X, Y, or Z, and they've got to hunt around for your email address or your phone number. It's not an enjoyable experience. It also really hurts you from a search engine optimization perspective to have inaccurate information available on the internet, because Google will notice that there are conflicts in information that's posted in one place or another and could penalize you for that. So making sure that your information is accurate and up to date is a really easy way to ensure that your clients convert when they wind up on your website. In terms of making a website a reality, and I know most of the people on the call already have one, but we can just touch on this again just so that everybody knows what we need to do. In order to make your website a reality, you need to select and buy your domain name. A couple of ways you can pick a domain name could be your firm name, your personal name if you are solo and planning to stay solo. If you're not planning to stay solo, then I would really encourage you to pick a firm name, because it's difficult to transfer, johnsmith.com to a larger firm. You can obviously always redirect those domain names, but if you're looking to grow, build the business you want to have, not the business you have currently. I would also encourage you to think about descriptive terms related to your practice area or geographic location. That can be things like San Diego DUI attorney. Obviously that one's taken because it's quite popular, but if you're in a rural area and you have a particular practice area you would like to highlight, purchasing a domain name with your geographic location and or your practice area description can be a really great way to identify your firm. You want to identify the goals for your website. For most attorneys, the goal is to get new clients. But it may be that actually you don't have any problem getting clients, you just want to have a way to boost your reputation online. So that may be a totally different goal and can take some different approaches in terms of what you're trying to accomplish with that website. You may want to be able to take payments from a client on your website. You may want to blog. You may want to sell things. Maybe you've written a book or created, user guides for employers if you're an employment law firm. Having a place to do these things is really important and will affect the design and development of your site. So making sure that you know what you're trying to do before you go out and hire someone or before you undertake a project is really important, because it may not be as simple as like just throwing a link on it to be able to sell something or have clients submit payments effectively to your trust account. So make sure that you know what you're trying to accomplish when you reach out to a new website designer or developer. And then we want to set a budget for design and development. And design and development does not include content. So this is just the website itself and making it look pretty. The DIY route is going to run somewhere between $500 and $750 ultimately, between hosting and logo design, stock image purchases, templates if you're using WordPress or Squarespace, and you're going to have to invest a lot of time. It's not an easy thing to do. Professionally, you could run anywhere between $1,500 to $10,000, depending on the size of the site, the complexity level of customization you want. And also, that can be a process or a payment that's broken up. Some places, MyCase included, offer, you know, a specific amount up front and then you make monthly payments for the life of the website, or you pay it all up front. So it just depends on what kind of company you're working with. And then from a, you know, diving into this DIY versus professional discussion a little bit deeper, I just want to give you guys a couple of recommendations. If you're going to go DIY, look into WordPress, Squarespace, or Wix. Those are about the easiest ones to work with in my experience. And what you'll need to do that, you're going to need a domain name, you're going to need hosting, which is both website and email hosting. They're not necessarily the same thing. You're going to need somebody to design your logos, you're going to need to find stock photos, you're going to need to get your headshots taken, you're going to need to create a color scheme, you're going to need to create content, and you're going to need lots and lots of time. I'll be the first one to tell you when I built the website for the first time for this business several years ago. I did it on Wix, and it took me, I don't know, the better part of a couple weeks. And I'm relatively comfortable with technology. So it's not something that you can just go and just willy-nilly throw up. If you do, it's going to show, and you're going to wind up with everyone bouncing off your site because the design is poor. From a professional perspective, you're probably looking at using WordPress or Squarespace or a proprietary platform. Plenty of website designers don't necessarily use some of the big name or more recognizable name platforms. It does not mean they're bad platforms. It's just a matter of making sure that they will be well supported, you know, for the next couple of years, because you don't want a website from a website designer on a proprietary platform who hasn't been around for a while. You're just going to run into trouble with that. And then again, you're going to need a lot less if you're outsourcing this task. You're going to be purchasing a domain name. You'll need to pay for hosting. Again, email and website. You'll need to get your headshots done, of course, and then you'll need to have some content created, either if you write it yourself or if you outsource that task. Like I said, website designers and developers do not provide content. There are plenty of places that have content development teams within their overall company, and that's just fine. But just remember that a website design and development team is not your content team. So you have two choices. You can write it yourself, or you can hire a copywriter to do it for you. So when I mentioned before that my old firm was working with this design firm to make this like amazing website, we were like really close to launch, and they called us and said, okay, we're ready for your content. And our response was, what content? And they gently told us that they were website designers, not copywriters. And because we had wanted to go with a company that was outside of the legal field, they had no experience writing for a law firm. We also had no experience writing website copy for a law firm. We were in the trenches working. We had gone to law school and were taught how to write briefs and how to write memos, but no one taught us how to write marketing copy. And so we were kind of stuck. But I really love writing. In a former life, I thought I was going to be a professional poet. I was going to write poetry on the beach and get paid enormous amounts of money to do it. And that's just not reality. But this gave me a really good opportunity to use that creative writing background and try my hand at copywriting. So the website company we were working with was awesome enough to hook me up with an SEO company and a copywriting company, and they taught me the ropes. It was an absolute blast, but it was a ton of work, and I couldn't have done it without my law firm support. So at the time, I was still going to school at night and working full-time. So I was able to get out of the office, learn a new skill, and apply that skill to our business in a way that was a lot of fun. But it's not something you really can just jump out and do. It's too important to converting clients and turning those website visitors into paying clients. And it's really easy to mess it up. 74% of consumers pay attention to the correctness of prose on a company's website. And 59% of respondents said they would avoid doing business with a company that made obvious errors. It is so easy to miss a typo on your website. So easy. Believe me, I constantly struggle with making sure that everything I write for my clients, for myself, for anyone, has been double and triple checked because it's so easy to miss a comma or throw something else in there. So it's really important to make sure that you don't make those errors because you're going to, again, lose clients. And if you already spent all the time and effort getting them on your website, you don't want to lose them because of a typographical error or content they can't understand. So my final poll, I believe, for you guys is, has anyone on the call written web page content for their website? We have a couple choices. I wrote everything on my website. I wrote a couple of key pieces like my bio or special practice area page. A member of our team wrote it for us, like my old firm did. I hired a copywriter to write it for me, or I don't have a website, so I haven't written marketing copy. So it looks like Stephanie's got that poll open, and I'm excited to hear where everybody falls within the spectrum. Because for us, it was a very jarring experience when I first had to get out and learn how to do that.
Okay, Mary, it looks like the majority have voted, so I'll go ahead and close the poll.
Cool.
And share our results. So 53% wrote everything on their website. 21%,
wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. 21% few key pieces like the bio or special practice area page. 9%, a member of the team wrote it for them. 4% hired a copywriter, and 13% don't have a website.
Okay. Wow. Well, that is very ambitious of all of you to tackle that content, that majority. So since you guys have tackled that content, and for those of you that wrote a couple key pieces or had a team member write it for you, I'd like to encourage you to take the next couple of slides and ask yourself, does the content I've written fit within these guidelines? So we're going to talk about what it takes to actually make a really good web page. A good web page has a title, a clear title, head notes, and they have different designations depending on the platform you're using, but normally it's an H1, H2, or H3 for those sub-head notes, super small paragraphs, bullet points, and numbered lists whenever you can use them. Like whenever you can work them in, please do it, because readers on the internet are lazy, absolutely lazy. You want to use short, clear sentences. You want to use a clear call to action. On every page, it's not to say on every blog, but on every page of your website, you want to ask your users to do something, whatever it is you would like them to do. And then you want to include relevant links either to content within your website or to content outside of your website within those pages. And so just to give you a feel for what this looks like, this is an old page from our website. It's no longer up because I keep changing things. But we've got a clear title. We've got headers and subheaders. We have really short paragraphs. I think the maximum paragraph length is 4 sentences, and they're short sentences. We use really great call to actions, and then we had a little arrow. Nope, we don't. As you can see there, that we also had a bullet points and numbered lists on that page. So you need to break up the content to make it easy for people to read. We also want to talk a little bit about the overall length of a web page and some more about this structure. You want to have your web page between 300 and 550 words per page. You want the title to be the subject matter that's going to be covered, and you want to include a keyword or phrase in your. That first paragraph needs to have an intro to the subject, and it also needs to talk about how the firm can help. So just a general overview of how you want to do that. The body of your website should have about 3 short paragraphs, maybe more if you're breaking it up by using bullet points and numbered lists. And practice area pages should address the most common questions your clients have about the service. And again, I really think bullet points and numbered lists are very important. You can use this as an opportunity to address frequently asked questions, questions about payment, questions about how your firm works. This is anything that's practice area specific can be addressed in the body of the page. And subhead notes should be used to break up the content to make it visually appealing, and also to draw attention to important pieces of content. People naturally on the internet skim, so if you want to get a particular piece of information across, like that you do work on a contingency fee basis or on a flat fee basis, that needs to come across in a subhead note. so that somebody who's scanning the page and worried about payment can see, oh, okay, this is where we talk about payment. Breaking it up and making it easy for your users to find really makes a big difference. And then ultimately, a good web page needs to have a conclusion with a clear call to action. So I've just written some examples up here. The easiest one is, if your loved one is in need of legal representation in a DUI case, call us now. You don't want to lose your right to a DMV hearing, or whatever. You're asking people to take action, and you're giving them a way to do that. So you want to make sure that you end every page with a clear call to action. And just a couple of quick tips for writing content on the website. You should never, ever, 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 ever copy website content. I know we often use our competitors or people within our space as inspiration, and inspiration is fine, but inspiration leads to accidental plagiarism a lot. So if you've used people to inspire the content on your website, I would really encourage you to run every single page of your website through copyscape.com. It will catch duplicate content and tell you where it shows up on the internet. And duplicate content will get you penalized. So make sure you don't have it on your website. And then obviously, our websites need to comply with state bar ethics requirements. So make sure you have appropriate disclaimers. Be careful with using we if you're a true solo. Several state bars have said that it's misrepresentation and therefore illegal. So if you don't have staff, don't use the word we. Be careful with how you describe case results or use client testimonials. And then obviously stay away from the word specialist or specializations if you aren't a bar certified specialist. So I hope that was helpful for everyone. It looks like we've got a few minutes for questions and answers, so I'd be happy to take any questions you guys might have.
Thank you so much, Mary. That was really educational. I know I learned a lot in the last hour. So for those of us that have to leave us now, please take note of 3 things. Great. Mary's got that slide up there, and you can see in the bottom right corner there's a promo code. MyCase offers a 30-day free trial, and because you attended this webinar today, you get a bonus discount, so please note that promo code. And secondly, when you close the webinar, a survey will pop up. Please take a moment to answer those survey questions. It'll take 30 seconds. And lastly, these slides, along with a few more questions and answers tomorrow, will be emailed to you and posted on the MyCase blog. And so now for some of those fantastic questions. Mary, you had a very engaged audience, and we definitely have more questions than we can get to right now. So again, the remainder of these questions we'll post on the blog. But
yes, I'm happy to answer them.
So the first question is, should a blog be on the law firm's website, or should it be separate?
Oh, this is like my favorite question. I really encourage law firms to put their blogs on their websites, because we're using blogs in this context to generate traffic. And there is no point in splitting the traffic that you're generating onto 2 different sites. Most people expect a blog to exist on the site that they're interested in. So if they learn about you through your blog and through a post, then they want to be able to really easily access additional information from your firm. And the number of clicks you put between a user and the information they want, the higher number of clicks with links that they have to travel through equals a lower conversion rate. So if you can make it easy for them to access your information, keep your blog on your website. With that being said, if you're using your blog for a purpose that is not lead generation, then you can have it off-site. And if you're blogging about making cookies or your children's activities, then I would really encourage you to take that off of your website, because it's not relevant to what your clients are looking for. But if you're blogging with the intent to generate leads and to generate more clients, then really, really I would encourage everyone to keep their blog on their website.
Okay, great. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so next question. I struggle with calls to action on my web pages and in my blogs. Do you have any pointers on writing calls to action that inspire urgency?
So inspiring urgency is always a difficult thing, but I like to use important points in a case to inspire urgency. The example I gave with that DUI, in California you have 10 days to request a DMV hearing. Most people who've been charged with a DUI don't know that. So if you share with them ahead of time in the body of your page, you only have 10 days to request a DMV hearing, having legal representation for that is helpful, and then you ask them to call you because they don't want to miss that opportunity, that can create urgency. Talking about other parts in the case where there is a sense of need, personal injury examples would be things like if they haven't gotten medical attention and they're waiting because they need assistance finding the right doctor, then encouraging them to reach out because you can connect them with a really helpful chiropractor or something along those lines can create urgency within that page to get people to take action. So, and I can answer that one in more detail as well, give some more examples when we send out those answers, you know, because that might be an easier way to do it.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of great questions here. Another one is, are social media sites useful to attract business clients?
I would say it's a question of where is your potential audience. And so if you're saying business clients in terms of you're doing business law and working with other businesses, then I would really say it can be, especially if you pick your sites strategically. Most businesses are advertising for clients on Facebook, and so Google Plus or LinkedIn, I mean, a lot of people are there for an advertisement purpose. So you're already in business mode as a business owner when you're on social media. So being approached for a business offering makes sense. If you're talking about generating business through social media for other types of law firms, it's really a big question of where are my clients and, you know, where's the best way to reach them.
Excellent. Okay, and one more question here. I'd be interested to know how many professional services actually get clients from Yelp. For example, doctors, lawyers, dentists. As a consumer, that's not what she goes to Yelp for, so she wanted to hear your take on that.
Well, and I've heard varying responses to that question. Obviously, I go on Yelp a lot, but it's definitely from a consumer perspective in terms of like what restaurants do I go to. But I also do purchase professional services with those reviews in mind. I'm not to say that 1 or 2 negative reviews would stop me from reaching out to somebody, but if somebody only has 2 reviews, I feel like, well, maybe they don't have, you know, enough clients that they're encouraging to respond to these sorts of things. And I do know a bunch of attorneys who have very successfully gotten clients off places like Yelp, and then I do know a ton of attorneys who've never had a client call off Yelp. So I think it really does depend on your profile on Yelp, the number of reviews, and then also the information you have available on the internet to back those Yelp reviews up. If you've got a bunch of great Yelp reviews and a really badly designed website, you'll probably get no calls off Yelp because when they go to your website to check you out and learn more, there's not any information there for them to back up those assertions that you're a really awesome attorney. So I think it's a really important thing to keep in mind is, yes, these sites like Yelp are really helpful and can be helpful, but you need to make sure that everything, your global approach to marketing on the internet is tight and ready to go.
Thank you. And it looks like we just have time for one more question. So our last question would be, should my firm have a LinkedIn profile, or should it just be the attorneys in the firm that have their own profiles?
So I would encourage firms to create a LinkedIn company page so that the attorneys within the firm can create a link to that LinkedIn page. It allows you to do 2 things as a firm. If somebody is looking for your services or your firm's name on the internet, it actually allows you to take up more space on Google because you'll have multiple attorney profiles pointing to that LinkedIn page. And it allows people who are looking to get additional information on where these attorneys in your firm practice to easily access your firm's information. So I would say both.
Great. Well, there's a lot more questions even coming in now, so you'll be busy writing answers to all of these. And
well, I'm lucky that I like to write.
That helps. So Mary, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it, and thank you to our audience. And again, you'll be getting a follow-up email tomorrow with a link to the blog. So thanks again for joining us all. Our next webinar will be November 20th, and you'll receive information on that. Thank you, Mary. Thanks again.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you, everybody, for participating.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.